Hello, people are coming in. Excellent. Let's go to the chat. As you're coming in, do feel free to say hello in the chat, and I'll get started literally in the next minute or so. Welcome to Park Lane Events webinar. This is the April webinar. Obviously, as we're in April, feel free to take pictures for your own reference. I do go through it at quite a speed as usual. There's so much information to go through today. Do take pictures so that you can use them on your socials. Obviously, I can't take pictures as I'm going along, so if anyone wants to send any to me, that's great. Thank you for using the chat. Jack, really good to have met you at the CHS show as well. Lots of people in there saying morning. Do make sure you say to everyone. Adam, you've said hello to host and panelists, so that's only me that's seen that. So when anybody's putting anything in the chat, do put and Rach. You've put to host and panelists. Rach from Swift Venues, always good to see you. Lovely to see you again. Get a lot of people, or well done, Rach. A lot of people come to the same, coming to each webinar each time. Excellent. Okay, so everyone's using the chat to say hello, which is really good. We've got 46 in already. That's brilliant. So I'll start. About 122 as of 3 minutes ago that have signed up. A lot of people sign up because I do send the recording afterwards as well. So everyone will get that this afternoon. So even if you can't make it, because appreciate we're a ridiculously busy time right now, 9:30 in the morning in April, then people do register so that then I can send it to them afterwards. So yeah, great. Everyone's saying hi in the chat. Hi, John T. Brilliant to see that you're on here as well. So yes, you're all here, which is fantastic. I'll start sharing the screen now. I've actually got nearly 50 people in now, which is brilliant. So if everyone can see, there we go. If anybody can put any like thumbs up or just mention in the chat if you can see the Park Lane Events logo on here. Excellent, thumbs up. Thank you very much. Right, so I can start. So very quickly, just a recap of the agenda today. I'm going to do a quick update on the latest venue availability trends and planning for this time of year, update on the next quarter and the rest of the year. In fact, there's a huge chunk on that very first element, and then industry exhibitions update, including my attendance at the BNC show. Nathan, who runs this, one of the ones that people that run the BNC show. He always sends the registration details onto the corporates and his network, which is fabulous. I was also attending the CHS show last couple of days. It's been really busy time. Plus lots and lots about hotels and venues either that I visited or new openings or that have been refurbished or something extra's happened, as well as summer venues. So there is a lot. So I will go through quite fast. So I say feel free to take pictures and you get the recap anyway. So just in case anybody's new, there are people here for the first time, obviously. And this is basically who often attends these. So it's corporate event buyers who I venue find for, or corporate event buyers who perhaps I network with, but they book directly with venues or through another agency. Might be people that work for a venue and also perhaps another agency or freelancer and just part of my network anyway. Oh, that's done that twice. There we go. So one thing I start off with is what 6-week chunk are we in at the moment? So the last minute bookings that we're getting now is until half term week, 27th of May. And then I always put a quick sort of, this is when the bank holidays are, and more for perhaps corporate buyers who do want to have a bit of an update of when is the busy time, when is the holidays exactly starting, to get all those last minute things in as well. So for me personally, every month is busy with inquiries, including August. This year it's the busiest year, I think. I thought that last year. But actually now, because people are getting so much more booking in advance, I'm looking at annual events for May, June and October for next year as well as all the last minute things for this quarter and for the rest of the year. So I think right now, between now and July, is probably the busiest booking time for the rest of this year and looking ahead at next year as well. Some of these things might sound quite obvious, but peak dates for June 2024 for the large events obviously have now gone. So if anybody has got any events they still need to book for the summer, get those locked in, or need to look at flexibility with dates now as well. So therefore my advice is to get those dates locked in for the last quarter of this year as well, if if possible. It's really hard, I know, sometimes. And a lot of this is because of repeat events now taking place from last year. So a lot of the key dates are going quite quickly or being held. There's a lot of shared first options going on. Yeah, as many people as possible can get those dates in, to get the best availability and obviously rates as well. I think one of the things as well that's still continuing is the anticipated train strikes. I know that there's some anticipated on the bank holiday week in May as well. So for any corporates, do ensure that the terms and conditions are clear. And for venues, if you can make sure that they're clear on the terms and conditions, a lot of venues don't have terms and conditions, particularly about train strikes. So either that's because there just isn't anything different, or it's because it's just not, it's on a bespoke basis perhaps, and it's a pain for everybody, I know, but that's just a bit of advice for corporates there. There's lots of pop-ups available at the moment as well because of the summer coming up. That's quite a lot last minute pop-up things where people are saying, oh, we're going to have this ready, or we're going to have that ready by April or May, or once the weather turns. But often they can't really shout about it too much, because until they know a definite date to take those last minute bookings, then they don't want to sort of guarantee space is going to be available, like terraces or things that are going to be redone. So there's a little bit on here about that actually, because it does take a bit more research. So for example, we've got Floratica at the Canopy Hotel London City, and they've had a lovely last minute availability offer in May. So anybody that hasn't got anything last minute, they've got some offers on specific dates there, and you can see at the top there, I'll just see if I can move my mouse, you've got the outside terrace, which is right outside the rooftop bar here, so all weather option there, which is really good. And then another one, Shoreditch Gardens, they've got specific dates remaining, so it's quite good when you've got these that they can shout about. But also they have an April perk, so anybody that books before the 26th of April, which is in the next couple of days now, there is a pick a perk. But one thing I always say is if you get an offer like this as well, do bear it in mind, and even if you're booking like the week after or a few weeks later, just say, oh, can you still offer that? And sometimes some venues are able to do that as well. Obviously, as a venue finder, that's what I'm here to help with as well. And this is what one thing I'm quite excited about, the Como Hotel and the Halkin, just off Hyde Park Corner. That did reopen last year. It'd been shut for quite a long time because of COVID. They were at the BNC last week, so it was great to catch up with them. Because also one thing they're doing that they haven't done before, so this is new for this year and probably up until December, is their restaurant is going to be available for private dining hire. So that way you can have a lot more there. They normally do like sort of 20-30 people for a sit down, and then so their big area now you can do sort of 45 to 64 depending on the layouts that you wanted. So that's quite a nice one. So that's got like last minute availability. So that's when I'm saying, oh, the peak dates have gone and things. There is some availability, but yeah, they're just often the little pop-up ones there. So update on latest venue availability trends and planning for this time of year. I'm talking about industry movements now, so venues and agents. So a lot of people might have seen in the news. So this was I got from MySbook, their LinkedIn newsletters. That Hilton has bought over 100. Well, they're announcing that they're planning to open 100 nomad properties all over the world. So that's one that's quite fast, swift openings that are going to happen there. And then with agency news, Amex has bought, is due to buy rival Castle Wagonly Travel. And this is probably one of the biggest mergers or buyouts, if you like, that the industry's probably seen for quite a long time. So those that don't know, then that's dealing with all sorts of travel, air travel, rail travel, accommodation, transient, and obviously event business as well. So that's quite exciting that that's happening. And then with the M&IT, I think one of the biggest things is sort of going just a little bit different about bounce back loans, repayments for the for small businesses. So that's more personal to me actually. I took a bounce back loan during COVID. And it's an element that these are still things, probably the only hangover from COVID, but people are still getting back on their feet in some respects, but perhaps they just don't talk about it so much. So that's something that I thought actually I will just sort of mention that there are still things that people. So for me, people paying commission really quickly is a big deal. It's all obviously really important anyway, but for venues to pay me that commission, that's a real big deal. And then also with the BMI research that survey that happened about a whopping 87% now work from home for part of the week or work remotely all of the time, with just 13% describing themselves as office-based. And the two things I sort of really get from that is, one, that's obviously why there's so many more meetings happening now, so external meetings happening now to get everybody together. A lot of people's offices obviously are much smaller, and this is something what we do know and we keep talking about, but when you keep seeing these surveys, then you know that this is actually still here to stay, for whatever anybody's point of view is. What are that implications for us as an industry? And I like the fact that most 72% were happy with the working arrangements, and that 58% said they thought the increase in hybrid working post-pandemic had increased productivity. And of course, that's the argument for everybody to work from home more, definitely. But what that does mean, one, a lot of the events have increased as people go externally. I work with some companies that they are all home-based, so they perhaps started up during COVID. So they perhaps might have a little hub in London, but that's about it. So that is their base, as it were, but they're actually all over the country. But also the other thing, because of that, it makes it hard for us to get in touch with some of these people for face-to-face meetings, but that's why we still have Zoom and everything, which is still working. So there's lots of things to the positives coming out of that. Now, in March, the MIA did they do regular reports, industry reports, and this one I thought was particularly quite good with their key findings. So again, another survey was done in February, and that was announced in March, so that was great. I could include it here. With 50% of venues have more confirmed future business as of the 1st of January than they did as the 1st of January last year. So year on year, that's growing. Overall cost of the sector increased 14% on average 2023, so last year. So I think that's really important, especially if clients aren't sure why there's such rate increases. And it's something that I do say to clients as well, is, obviously what's your budget for this event? But if it hasn't moved on from last year or perhaps the year before, that is when I will say, that is a consideration. Might not be able to get the same as last year. Or sometimes some venues will if it fits in with what they've got, of course, but it's just sort of being aware of that as well. And then average inquiries are being made 11 weeks in advance of an event. So that's really interesting. So I think that really depends on the size of the event, because that's the next 3 months, which says, going back to the previous slides, that takes us now until the summer holidays. But as I know, there's a lot more going on towards the end of the year and next year as well. So that was just that, and I did mention the train strikes earlier, and I thought that was interesting for January, some of the business that was cancelled as that. So again, having that in the terms and conditions, and asking about that is, I think, really important when contracting. Also on a financial point of view, and this just goes into it a bit more, and that's where I said about the 14% on average overall cost increase, with almost 9 in 10, so 87% raising their prices to combat this at an average increase of 10.5%. So that's rates going up by 10%. So it obviously does have to be passed on, and I do know that venues are trying everything they can to keep those rates down as much as possible. And there was reasons why as key factors for the increases. So this is where a lot of people do take pictures of the slides as well as we're going along, because as you can see, I do race through it quite quickly. It's quite a lot to get through. And then there was a M&IT study, and again, this talks about rates, but this is actually factually about a delegate rate. So in London, what it was for 2023, UK and Ireland, and then the provinces as well. So again, what percentage that increased by, so, and year on year. So feel free to take a shot of that one. And then my point of view, there are definitely high levels of demand in person events I've just mentioned, and this kind of just summarizes a lot of the things that I've just said as well. So especially with the larger numbers coming back as well, and companies growing year on year, a lot of companies are still rebuilding as well, and so they still need to get everyone together. So my takeaways basically from everything that I've been reading over the last 3 months, and I know it sounds obvious, but it never changes: finalise your event dates to get the best availability and rates. With corporates, really look at a Monday or Friday as an option. There are better deals to have on those days, but we all understand why that's not necessarily practical. And also for venues response times, because with the volume now that there is, those that respond quickest and most accurately are obviously going to be the most favours. So I have to do a lot of chasing, and this is part of my job, obviously. That's why corporate might use me as a venue finder, because I take the pain away from all the chasing and things. But obviously, the quicker a venue can get back to me with the most accurate information, the quicker I can get that accurate proposal to the client so they can make that decision and get that contracted. And I mentioned shared first option earlier as well. So that is something a lot of people are doing. And so it's, you know, first, that's shared first option is where you can hold the space, but basically it's the first person that contracts will get the space. But it keeps that communication open by at least having some sort of a hold with the venue, rather than, well, some corporates have said, well, what's the point of even trying to hold? It's like, well, at least they know that you've got that interest and that communication. And again, that's what I'm here for, which I do very well. The venues do very well with me as well. We're all eager to hear updates of, is this event like to go ahead? What's the client feedback? And I work on a 2-week sort of rolling. So I do expect to hear back from a client within 2 weeks. I do obviously contact clients on a regular basis to get these updates so that I can get back to the venues as much as I can as well. So then moving on to industry exhibitions updates. So a lot of people do take a snapshot of this as well, because you've got all the latest exhibitions here that are sort of in the UK, and these are just a snapshot. There's obviously an awful lot more. There's a lot more overseas. I just put these ones on because these are the ones that I tend to go to if I can. I don't go to all of them. And they're all sort of pretty popular with event buyers. BNC was last week, so that they have got their date to be confirmed for next year. And CHS Show, as I said, came, I've just come back from the last couple of days. And I think the one thing I like about the CHS Show is you've got lots of independent venues that you perhaps wouldn't find anywhere else. And you've got some real little gems, and you do have the chains that go there as well, so it's good to keep updates with who's at what property. And again, with the BNC show last week, you get a lot of London venues and some outside of London venues as well, but you do get a lot of central London, and yeah, there's basically a lot of London venues there to keep up to date with what's going on in the city, which is fabulous. So places where that I've been the last few weeks, as I just said, the BNC show, I was on the panel there on venues that wow. And in particular, one of the things was, what was the top 3 questions you need to ask when selecting the venue for you? So tips that I gave out was, because this is obviously once you've got the data availability and the quote and everything. So things that I was suggesting are, where is your sustainability initiatives on the website, or do you have a PDF to send? I found with a lot of venues it's not very clear, and I do know it's because there's just so much going on, and I've mentioned this before when it comes to sustainability. Just having something to show what you're doing is better than having nothing at all. Often you have to go through 2 or 3 different options on the website, and corporates just don't have time to do that. Again, that's obviously what I'm here for, to help find that, and I do get that, or I obviously email or phone the hotel directly for it. But that is becoming more and more requested. So any advice for venues there? Is it clear on the website? Can you get to it really quickly as well? And I often recommend just have it as a separate tab on the whole website itself, because it's relevant whether you're an individual or group or whoever. So that's one of the things with the tips of the BNC. Another one I suggested to ask is, do you have any refurbishments planned when my event is due to take place? Now, not everyone will know that necessarily, but it's good to understand, is there something going on? How is that going to impact your event? It might not at all, but at least then that gives you an informed decision at the time of inquiry. It could be that it's brilliant. It's like, yes, we're having a refurb that's going to be finished a month before you come, and you're going to be able to take advantage of it. But I think the most important thing is it going to go ahead? Is there going to be a refurb or any noise impacted while the event is going ahead? And then the last thing that I suggested was about cancellation policy. Again, on rail strikes, unfortunately, it's still ongoing, isn't it, really? Danielle, brilliant, queen of sustainability and booking sustainable venues, has put on comments. Thank you for telling venues this. That's about the sustainability element. So many doing great things in sustainability, but doesn't tell anyone, and that's exactly it. There's so much going on, but it's and I appreciate that's marketing that often has to put that up when they've got time as well. And then just come back from the CHS show. Have got a little bag in the corner there, in case you can see that logo there. I've just come back from the Leeds one. The next one I'm going to be at is at Birmingham. Now, last year I did some sessions there, and these are the 2023 topics that I covered. They've asked me back, which is amazing. So I will be speaking on the PA Lounge. They have two. They have the big educational seminar, not on that one, and they have another little stage, which is where I'll be. They call it the PA Lounge, but anybody can come along to that. And I might be doing some similar subjects as to what I did last year. I'll just be getting feedback first, of course. So that's where I'll next be speaking. So any more free advice that you're looking for, that's where you'll find me next. And then just going on to sort of when I do talk about sort of venues and things at these seminars, I've been doing a little bit of research on what else is happening. So, for example, the Orangery at Kensington Palace has been closed since 2017 and is now fully opening this spring. So this is such, I mean, I remember this from years ago, but this is such a beautiful venues, and it's in Kensington Gardens. I know that sounds obvious, but it's such a beautiful setting and can do a lovely amount of numbers, as you can see there up there. So I'm just going to move quickly on because I've got quite a lot to go through. So then we've also got, this is going now to sort of something much smaller. You've got 34 Bloomsbury, which that's the street name, so very easy to know where that is. And the garden is opening this spring, which is why these are sort of artist impressions. And it's a lovely small Georgian house. So you basically hire the townhouse, and in the garden there you can do up to 75 guests, or the whole house is up to sort of 110, and you can get caterers in. They have a list of supplied preferred caterers as well. So and they've, as you can see up here, they've got examples of what you can do here with prices. So that's another little one there. A lot of people know about the new Convene at St Paul's that opens. They had that launch party last week, so that's super exciting. I know they do a lot of marketing, so a lot of people will know about that already, so I will skip on. So I got sent this from Laura at the Churchill, Hyatt Regency London. So it's just a little overview of, again, it's a bit of a forgotten one, I think, sometimes, with the amount of conference space they've got. So they can do up to 250 reception, and you're not far from Bond Street and Baker Street, so that sort of in between area, Marble Arch, that kind of area. They do have 444 bedrooms, and what's new with them this year is their Churchill Bar and Terrace is now available for private hire, and they have a heated terrace. So that's actually a tiny little picture down here, but you can go on the website if you're looking for something a little bit new or a little bit different there. The fact that although the event space isn't new, it's the fact that you can hire it out now privately, which is very exciting. So then I'm going to come on to the Belfry, which is super exciting. They've got an £80 million investment taking place. They will have an additional 149 bedrooms and taking it to 468 in total, with I've put 80 additional charges. I've not spelled that right at all. That's car charges as well. So they'll have 86 in total. They're investigating getting more getting solar power. The BREEAM excellence rating is what they're going for, and just to let you know that the BREEAM is about when you're refurbishing property, are you doing it sustainably and socially correct. But what they are going to have is this really large master suite, which is brand new, 920 theatre, and you can see the capacities there. Now I'm going to try and play it's literally 30 seconds, it's not very long, but let's make sure that volume's up. So that's the Belfry there. So they were at the CHS show, they were at the BNC show. I'm sure they're going to be a lot of the other shows as well for the rest of the year, with such an exciting development. What I liked about is their fact sheets as well, is they've got all the floor plans done already. This is what exhibition would look like. This is what a banquet layout will look like. Obviously, I wish more venues did this, and I appreciate this is because this is part of their launch and everything. So any tips for any venues that are online, if you can have any of these, this is brilliant. I do send this kind of thing in my proposals to clients as well where possible. I have been to see loads of hotels venues. This is literally just a snapshot. In fact, I'm going to the Farsi in London. It's an Indian restaurant you can hire privately in May to event with industry peers there. So I'm looking forward to going to that. Hallwood House, they've had a 6 million refurbishment. That's in Buckinghamshire. Again, very high on the sustainability aspects. They're doing quite a lot there. I also went to see Doubletree, Hilton, Edinburgh City Centre. I will be going up to Edinburgh again at some point because I'm getting more inquiries for there. And then I have just mentioned the Hyatt Regency Malta because it was this time last year that I went to Malta. I think we will be going again in the next year or so, and there's more openings in Malta. And I've just got a little bit of a little of a soft spot for the Maltese people. They're so well geared up for the UK conference and events market. They can't do enough. So although I don't tend to do too much overseas, Malta I do make an exception for. And then just letting people know where to get more information for all the things that I'm doing that's industry, obviously related to the industry. So I do quite a lot of blogs now. I have Sarah who helps me with my blog so that I'm not writing this all on my own. I haven't got time for that. But we work together where I'll obviously say this is what I want to say. She writes it and it's like she's in my head. And then I just update any last minute things. So that's where I'm mentioning, basically unique spaces. Why do people want to come on my webinar? What's the latest London top venues? That kind of thing. So it's a little bit of an everything there, and it's quite a useful resource for people there. So another thing I have done new since the beginning of January is I've now got a new web page on my website about new London venues. So it's obviously not going to have everything on it, but it's just a snapshot and a bit of a go-to, another resource. So at the beginning of the year, we were putting on the Peninsula, Raffles, we've got Broadwick Studio, which is over at Canary Wharf. So again, perhaps where it's people aren't necessarily passing all the time. And again, because so many people are working from home now, they're not coming in, people aren't coming into London as much to keep up to date, or the other cities are available. But this is just about the London venues there. And then what's also coming soon, which we're working on, so I've got Lee, who's a wonderful virtual assistant, and he's amazing with a lot of my social media. He helped update the website. And so one page we're working on is hotels all along Park Lane. So that will be a separate web page and this is what it basically is looking like. So that should be, I think at the end of this month actually. So that will be very soon again. And it's just got quick, where is it? What are the maximum capacities and things? And it's quite a quick go-to there for people. So as I mentioned already, how else can I help? As I mentioned, I was at the BNC talking on the panel last week. That was really good. That was 115 people that were in that room, which was just incredible. I'm glad I didn't know that before it started. But that was all about venues that wow. And that was a team of us together. So that was fantastic. And I do want to say thank you to Nathan again at the BNC for giving me that opportunity. It's not easy. So I do get nervous and everything. So, but it was just amazing just learning all off each other and having that discussion there. I mentioned already, I'll next be at the CHS show in October in Birmingham. So this was basically the tiny little area I had last time. So quite comfortable if it's a small space, and I was right by the tea and coffee. So that was wonderful. So that's where I will next be, as far as I'm aware. And then for corporates watching and how does venue finding work, this is actually on my website. So again, this is what Lee's helped with, putting this timeline together, where you can click quite easily. How does it work when you're venue finding or when I'm venue finding? And this is how I work. Every venue finder is slightly different. And that's where for corporates, it's just finding the one that you're in sync with the most. So I do have a quick page, go-to page now on the website, how it all works, the fact that I work on commission only from the venue. So it's free to the client. And then I get a commission from the venue after the event. Somebody put something recently where it said, oh yeah, agents add on the commission to the rates, which is not true at all. So it's within the rates that are quoted. I work very closely with lots and lots of venues, which is why I do this webinar as well. And it's getting the best rate for the client, in the the best venue for the client, the best availability, and working together as quickly as we can to get that brief locked down, that quote locked down. So future webinars, obviously you're signed up already to the April one today, and then the next one is on Wednesday the 11th of September. This is all on my website, so you can sign up at any time to the webinars, should you wish to do so. And then now we've come to the last page, about how to contact me and going forwards there. So that's 10 o'clock, dead on. I think that's the first time I've done the whole thing from beginning to end without running over at all. So interesting, people are putting a couple of things in the comments now. Yeah, Adam, you're completely right. It's unfortunately still a common misconception with some clients about commission being added on top. And I think this is where you've got to work really closely with your venue finder to actually find out how they work and not assume that everybody does the same thing. And it's a tricky one, which is why I do the webinars as well, to be fair as well. It just clarifies anything there. And if anybody has any queries, then anybody can ask me about this, how does this work? And that's why I put it on the website as well. So thank you. Everyone's starting to say thank you very much now. Appreciate it. So do go. Everybody's really busy. Everyone's got a lot to catch up on, especially I've got so much to catch on, having been at both the shows recently. But thank you so much for everybody for attending. You know how to get to another one if you want to. As I mentioned, bye Krishna, thanks very much. Brilliant to see you too, Danielle. Oh, Nathan, I'm glad you were able to join live. Thank you very much. Extremely informative. I love that. So hopefully I'll see you at the September one, or I might see you at one of the shows, or as you can see here, you can contact me on any of these details. So let me stop sharing for a start. There we go. And yeah, Emma at Horwood, yeah, no, great to be able to talk about all the changes that are happening at Horwood as well. And Pranit, thank you so much for your time on Monday. Pranit's here from Blue Orchid Hospitality. Talking about a site visit on Monday. I haven't had a chance to catch up about that yet because I've been at the show. So yeah, really appreciate that people have been able to come today and just keep each other updated. That's all we're all sort of trying to do, isn't it, really? Oh, Shireen, lovely that you're able to be here as well, and you know how busy I am as well, so thank you for and I appreciate how busy you are doing your training, so thank you very much. Right, I'll close this now, and replay will be sent, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you very much.